G'day, listeners. Welcome to Barkarati, the sailing podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer. It's that time of the week where we get to hang out with some really cool sailors. But of course, I normally have to share the mic with my two idiot mates. Tonight, just the one. Let's bring in the giggling one.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Bice.
No, good start.
Tyranny of distance.
So, similar to last week,
paint
us a picture. You're currently in Crosshaven, Cork.
Mm-hmm.
It is 9 p.m. on a Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
This could go anywhere. If I'm at 9 p.m. in Cork, Crosshaven, in Ireland, on a Saturday night, this could go anywhere, my friend.
And plus, I've had Brian Carlin sending me the names of the barmaids for the bars just around the corner from me to go and get a good pour. There's a barbecue on downstairs. I think it's for me, just to welcome me to the host home I'm staying at. I've literally been running around doing media all day for the 505 Worlds, just written a bunch of stories, got the shit up on the website, and then I've looked at my watch and I think, oh, geez, we've got to do Barkarati. So I've raced here. The barbie's ready to be fired up, and I've just walked in and said, look, I can't.
Mate.
I'm done.
Oh, there you go. What a cracker.
It's a glamour. It's a glamour spot. I've got to say, mate, the Irish, how good are the Irish? They are good fun to hang out with.
They are a great deal of fun. I've got a little Crosshaven story, if I may.
Of course.
When back, maybe it was like 04 or 03, sailing the Maxi Z86 Morning Glory from Bermuda into Crosshaven. And we turn up at like 6 a.m. in the morning, and we had to wait for the tide. As you know, the tides are massive there, and it rushes in and out through that little cutting there. Anyway, the boys came out and delivered us like a breakfast roll. We've been on the freeze-dried for a week or so, and it was the most beautiful breakfast roll I'd ever eaten.
Yep.
So we get in, we pack everything up, have a day on as the Irish do, and then the next morning went back to the same pub that produced that breakfast roll to replicate it, but just on a plate, breakfast plate. And I'm like, what's this? Such a beautiful sausage here. Black pudding, they tell me. Oh, Jesus.
Yes. You wouldn't have ordered it, but now you've tasted it.
Oh, God.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it still gives me a little tune in the stomach.
Okay. Well, I must admit the food is fantastic. Every time I come in from the water, there's a bit of food there waiting for me. And it's
the food, the hospitality.
Yep.
Is second to none. Fantastic.
Yeah.
You must be having time of your life, my friend.
Indeed, my friend. Indeed. Speaking of time of our life, shall we bring in this? We've got an interesting episode this week. Shall we make it happen?
We shall make it happen. Let's go.
Right, boss. So obviously this week's going to be a fun one. I'm interested how we're going to play this out because we've actually been in contact with World Sailing. I think we've grown up, Bice, here. This is what I'm really concerned about. We're starting to grow up here, and we want to have a discussion that's a grown up discussion, but in our way.
But before we get into this, so I was contacted by Scott Dougal, who is not joining us in this particular show, and I was wondering what it was about.
Yeah.
I thought,
we're in
World
trouble.
Sailing contacting us, we've either won something or we're going to get told off.
Yep.
If we won something, they obviously hadn't listened for long enough. But what we have done is assemble a bit of a cast, actually, of some fantastic individuals, of which, please carry on, Jordan.
Okay. So what we're going to try and do is look at sustainability and inclusion in our way. What we've got Alexandra Rickham, who is the head of sustainability for World Sailing. As I said, we're growing up now. We had to demean ourselves and we had to let Luca Rizzotti back on the show one more time. I think he's probably been on more than anyone now officially. And then we've got Jackie DeFin from South Africa, who won an 11th Hour Sustainability Award last year for all the work that her and her colleagues do in Durban to bring people into sailing, which, as we said in the past, is what Barkarati exists for. So to that lovely three group of guests, welcome to Barkarati.
Thank you, Joey.
Hey guys.
Excellent.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Okay, so Alex,
and by the way, guests, I'm going to call this the WSSAIS, the World Sailing Sustainability and Inclusion Special, if you don't mind.
I'll
make sure.
WSSAIS.
Yeah, it's got a bit of a ring to it. So,
Oh yeah.
Anyway, carry
Rolls
on.
off the tongue really easily.
okay.
Let's go register the website before someone else does.
I'll reserve the domain.
All right. This is either going to be a disaster or brilliant, I think. Let's go for brilliant. Alexandra, let's dive in with you. Obviously, a sailor, Paralympian, multiple medal winner. Sailing a passion for you?
Yeah. I mean, I came to sailing late. I'm British Jamaican, and sailing's not big in Jamaica, so I didn't really grow up doing it when I was little, and then so I got into it when I was kind of at university sort of time, and got recruited kind of mostly for the Paralympics, but I love it. I love water. I like being away from the land and just having a different perspective. So yeah, completely drawn to sailing. It caught me.
It caught you. I love that statement.
Can I ask Alexandra, and for the listeners, what your disability is as far as the Paralympics are concerned?
Yeah, so I'm considered a one-pointer in terms of our classification. So that means the most severely disabled. So I'm a high-level mid-level quadriplegic. So permanent wheelchair user, and have paralysis in all four of my limbs. So it takes a bit to get me out on the water, but once I'm there, it's all good.
Oh, that's good. I must admit, I've got a very close mate who's a quad, and I've had some unique experiences with him where we go out to a bar and have a few drinks, and it is fun.
Here we go.
Oh no, I'm not.
Jordan's favourite joke.
No. Anyway, we'll tell it another time. But you've obviously managed to have a bit of success on the Scud, which I've actually tested for a magazine, which is a great boat. Do you like the Scud?
Yeah, I love the Scud. I mean, obviously it was much better than every other boat at the time. So, it was the only one with a spinnaker, so it always meant that we could go a lot faster, and it was great on a windy day. And I haven't really sailed very much, I think, especially since the pandemic. Mine is in pieces, but I kind of need to get out there and put it back together and get back out on the water as soon as possible. But you know how it is, you start working in sailing, then you never go sailing sort of situation. So,
Everyone responded to that one. It's so true. All right. So from the sustainability perspective, you've had quite an interesting pathway, because you set the sustainability program for SailGP, and then you've sort of moved with that and then moved into world sailing. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So I kicked off so my background was, before I kind of went off sailing for 10 years, was in environmental science. And so I afterwards, and especially after Rio, because I think Rio was like a huge turning point for like a lot of Olympic sailors and the Paralympic sailors, because you could actually see kind of the pollution, the water quality, we had issues. And so suddenly it all became very, very real to you. Whereas like in other places, you kind of saw dribs and drabs of it. And so I was like, I have to go back into sustainability. I'd like to stay in sport. And and then I eventually got there. I worked as a consultant, got the opportunity to help SailGP kick off their endeavors, and stayed there for, pretty much 3 years. And then world sailing came a knocking. And so I thought, well, here's this huge opportunity to kind of affect the global outlook. And so, yeah, signed up and here I am. So 4 months in, haven't made, huge impact yet, but, hopefully we have some cool stuff coming down the pathway.
I love it. Obviously, the sustainability message is still incredibly strong in SailGP, I can tell you that. And I think the template that you left behind is still well and truly being used. So that's good. I'd like to introduce Jackie as well.
Yeah, it was really
Keep going.
cool.
Yep, keep going.
No, I said it was great. Last week I was down in Plymouth and, they've kind of driven everything forward. They're taking it to the next level. So it's super exciting, electric boats on the water, different drones are using different fuels and, and then obviously a huge amount of solar and different stuff going on. So super exciting. We're really seeing it happening on the ground.
Yeah.
Which is good. Everybody's having a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had to eat plant-based meat, and which is my first experience of that while I was down there. So I was sitting there going, this is not going to be good, but it was fantastic. I'll be honest. It was absolutely fantastic. I'm a vegan.
Yeah.
Boss.
Last year, Jeff Holtz literally thought it was meat and was like, this is the best burger I've ever had. And then we were like, you do know that's plant-based. And he was like, and when I talk about Jeff Holt, I'm talking about the first quadriplegic to sail across the Atlantic. And he was like, he's a real meat and potatoes guy. And he couldn't believe that he was eating a plant-based product. So it's pretty impressive what, where we are now.
Yeah. Well, there's no more bigger meat and potatoes man than one Jordan Spencer, of which the beauty is, unless he edits that particular part of this podcast out, I'm going to hold him to that particular comment for a long, long time. About it was something very, very tasty.
It was. You'll have to come. I'll get you on the tour, mate. We need to get Jackie in just to set the premise, because we know a lot about Luca, and I think we've lost Luca for the time being. So, Jackie, you're from Sail Africa, which is, or the operations director of Sail Africa, which you won the 11th Hour World Sailing Sustainability Award. You've got this youth development program going in Durban. Can you just tell us what that's about?
Yeah, sure. Durban is a town on the east coast of South Africa, and South Africa, as you probably know, is a very unequal society. So we have a huge sprawling mass of township which lies around the perimeter of the city, and the harbour where we have our sailing program is in the center of the city. So we have to bring these youngsters in from outside of the city and introduce them to the water. Durban, up until probably 20, maybe 25 years ago, was very much a colonial city. And somebody mentioned that sailing has this idea that it's for these elite, wealthy people. And in fact, in Durban, that was exactly what it was like. In 2007, Craig Miller, who was our founder, did the Clipper Around the World race in a boat that was sponsored by Durban. And when he got back, he wanted to do something for the city. So he got together all the infrastructure. So all that infrastructure, and we have some great infrastructure. It might be aging now, but it's still, we've been very lucky to have it. So we have 4 L26s, which are keel boats, which take about 5 kids on with an instructor. And we have an L34, and we have a whole fleet of dinghies. So he got together the instructor, and being a teacher and an organizer, it was very easy for me to just organize kids. And at the time, I was bringing up I was educating a youngster. And I'm a social sailor, not a particularly good one. I just enjoy being on the water and pottering around. And I saw quickly that he had far outstripped anything that I was able to show him. So when Craig Miller started this, I called him and I said, Craig, I think you really need to take SEA. And he said, okay, I'll take SEA, but you come and help me. Well, that's fine. I can organize kids. You want kids organized? I can organize kids, no problem. So Craig's moved on and I'm still organizing kids. But that's how we started. And we started just with, I think to begin with, maybe about 15 or 20 kids that used to come. And being the sort of mother duck that I am, I used to schlep them off to regattas and things like that, because I sometimes felt like I was driving a train, with a combi and a trailer with 8 boats coming along behind me. But anyway, and the kids all go to sleep and I'm driving along. I'm far too old for that now, but this was 15 years or so ago. So that's how we got going in the beginning. And it's just grown from there. So that today, I think we've got about 350 kids in various programs that are there. And we're looking to expand into other centers because we can't cope. But it's been a lot of fun and very rewarding. So, yeah, as long as they're kids, I guess I'll organize them.
Love it.
Beauty.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. You're obviously one of these people that just gives back, and it's a wonderful story. And I hope we get to see it one day. We'd love to see it. It'd be fantastic.
Well, I don't know if you've looked at the videos that World Sailing made, because I think some of them gave you quite a good a reflection of what we do. There was the one on the girls sailing for the steering the course program that was on World Sailing last year. Yep. And then there was the one, I don't know if you saw that one, because that showed our girls program and the girls spoke really nicely. I particularly liked young Amanda's take on it. She spoke about how sailing is a metaphor for life, and how when she's on the boat, she has to focus all the time to stay in the race. Just losing focus can lose her the place, and how in life it's much the same thing. Yes. So just to know that, that our girls program is not just a girls program, it's a life skills program as well. And sometimes the life skills are done, sometimes we set out to do them, and sometimes we don't. It's just kind of inadvertent like that. I mean, and that's the beauty of sailing, isn't it? That it does teach you, just does teach you these inadvertent life skills. And we can see that in these kids. And a lot of our kids have gone into the maritime industry, and it's amazing when they get hold of you now. And this one's right now, one young orphan that we brought into the program and we found a bursary for is in Belgium. He's an officer on a ship. Oh, and wow. I think I told you the story that one of our very first young men was not only the officer on the SA Gullis 2 that's just gone down to the pack house and discovered the Shackleton's wreck, but because he had the skills, he was the person who was, which he learned at South Africa, I must add, he was the person that was driving the rubber duck because he had a safety license from us. So he had a world sailing safety boat license. So he was driving the duck with a scientist servicing from the ship to. So I'm really proud of that. It's just great.
And so you should be.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome. So Alexandra, I guess we need to frame this like from the perspective of what is sustainability, and how does that tie in with inclusion, and why should we care? If you're a listener to this show, why does it matter to the listener?
Sure. Okay. So sustainability at the bare bones is the balancing act between the social, environmental, and economic. And I think a lot of people think that, we're probably like happy clappy tree huggers the whole time, that we don't actually care about the economics of it. But the realities are that we still need the money to be able to help make all of these things happen, and also to drive our economies. So for us, I'm the gatekeeper of Agenda 2030, which is World Sailing Sustainability Agenda. And within that, it includes, there's a lot of environmental. So it's really looking at, from the sailing perspective, looking at things like how do we build our boats? How many coach boats do we have on the water? And from the social side, it's about diversity and inclusion. It's, making sure that our sport is representative of our global community, that it's, we know from so many studies that diversity and inclusion make for better workplaces, make for better, economic productivity. So, why wouldn't we want that for our sport? And so we need to guarantee the sustainability of our sport by bringing new people in, and by engaging new populations and people who we don't think traditionally, maybe aren't seen as the sailing community. We need to change that, and that's what, the likes of Jackie, is doing. That's what Luca is doing, through, making sure that, championing women in foiling, is a huge remit of his. And so I think all of that it makes sure that we have a stronger, more resilient sport that people can be engaged with, and they can just go out and have fun, and I think that's what's important, and so that's why it's important to us at World Sailing. And I think, generally I would say that's why it's important to everybody in terms of what we do.
Hey, Alexandra, since you've been in this sustainability role, not only with World Sailing, but Sail GP, obviously yachting has a bit of a stigma attached to it. It's a bit of call it a rich man's sport. How have you seen that? And Jackie, maybe you could comment on this also, but how have you seen that barrier being broken down in the last, I've certainly noticed it in the last few years, and I guess you're monitoring it even closer. Are we getting there?
Yeah, I think we're slowly getting there. We have an amazing Emerging Nations program, for like the youth worlds and for the, going into the Olympic classes, etc. But also, I think what's incredible is that we are starting to see these areas pop up, and a lot of work is being done on, like, how do we develop the sport in Africa, for example, as where Jackie's coming from. I come from a tiny island nation in the Caribbean where, like, sailing, nobody really sails. So actually we need, we're starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together. It is getting better, but we have a long way to go. We have a lot more work to do, and we have a lot more work to do around the role of women in sailing as well. Really getting, half of the planet isn't as engaged as the men, it's clear, like, and I'm saying this anecdotally, we do need to get the actual real data. So that's something we're working on to prove it. But it's getting better, but probably not as fast as we'd like. There's more that we can do. We've got 50-50 balance in the Olympics, but where do those Olympic classes, female sailors, go once they've finished the games? Whereas our male counterparts are, going into professional sailing roles. So, we still have change to make. But it's like the America's Cup are now, we now have the women's AC coming up. So, like, that's that is a huge step. That's a change. Yeah. So yeah, it's coming.
So Luca is a 21 World Sailing 11th Hour Racing Sustainability Award nominee. You're obviously playing a big part in this, in the inclusion side, and that's been building over the last few years, certainly from what we've witnessed. And I guess you've got some big plans.
Yes, it was interesting, the 21 nomination. And I hope we get nominated again this year, if that's possible. But not really for us, but it's as organizer, but for the students that made it to the event, finally being able to travel and to deliver the boats that they have designed and built. Just quickly, basically, the SuMoth challenge is a challenge for university students to design, build, and race a MOT, an international MOT compliant boat that has sustainability parameters in all of these three. So both in design, in construction, and in racing. Why do we do that? The first reason I would say is that, of course, being in foiling, we have, let's say, a technological look into sustainability. And the way forward, in my opinion, when you talk about sustainability, technology, and materials in a high performance, is that you need to match these two things. You need to prove that sustainability is possible together with performance. In my previous, let's say, work life, I've been working in architecture. And I have seen that the acceptance of sustainable materials and sustainable practices in buildings only made an impact once it was possible to prove that these practices were better, equal or better to the normal system. So that's what we are trying to do, is to prove that sustainability and performance can go together. So we organize this competition that takes university students, which are basically the future, of course, of the industry. So there are naval architecture and engineering schools. We have Southampton, we have University of Montreal, we have 3 Italian universities that did participate in the 2022 event. We had 4 boats fully built and delivered to following week for the SuMoth Challenge, with over 90 students coming. They are big teams. Actually, we had to tell them to cut them down, because meaning to cut them down at the event, because we couldn't accommodate all of them. The average team is made more or less of 60, 80 people. It's basically almost an America's Cup team. They have.
What have you done, Luca? What have you done?
I know, because these boats are complex, and of course you need a design team, a construction team. There's electronics, which is, for example, one thing that we put in the system that is different from the Moth class. We allowed full electronic control, and we had. It's interesting because the marine industry is now using these boats as test beds to prove technology and to prove sustainability. Most of the teams, they have, like, if you look at the website or even the T-shirts, of course, they display the sponsors. I was amazed to see when they came that they have like 20, 30 names supporting them that are from the marine industry. And this gives them also access work-wise. They get contacts for the future work within the industry. And of course, if they learn how sustainability can be brought into the system, then we see results. And they are real results from, for example, I understand that Southampton experiment, the Southampton boat was done, let's say, with some input from Maguire Boats. And I understand that Maguire Boats, which is the maker of one of the, let's say, most performing moths out there, the Exocet, they now launched the Aeroset, anyway, is they changed their production because they have seen that it's possible to make it more sustainable with the same performance. So that's what we're trying to do.
So, Luca, and the rest of the guests, and Jordan, you'll relate to this, and without getting too far off track, when do you reckon we could see that transferred into Big Boat World? Because for Big Boat World to understand sustainability, in my mind, it has to become mandatory in some element. E.g., the Volvo Ocean Race or the Ocean Race needs to make a certain part of it mandatory to be part of, not a tokenism, to then make teams do it, right? And it sounds as though you got above that tokenism side of it, and but to make it a much larger scale.
Well, it's an interesting question, Nick, and I think what we have seen, which is already, I think, a good result. We have students of the very first year of the SuMoth, which was just basically before the COVID started, and where we were only in the design phases. Some of these students, they have founded a company called Eco Racer, I think, if I'm not wrong. And they made a sport boat, which is around 10 meters long. And with this sport boat, which is all sustainable, they won the Italian championship in their category.
Oh, wow.
So again, it shows that it's possible to transfer these criteria, and it is possible to make sustainable boats performing well against other boats that are not sustainable. And of course, we are proud that this is coming from former SuMoth students. But then you're right. I think big events should put mandatory system to force increasing percentages and using life cycle assessments, which is what we do with the SuMoth challenge, which is again what we are doing every year. Every year we make it more difficult because otherwise there is no improvements. Once they learn and they achieve a target, then the year after they need to be able to reach an even better result until basically the boat will be made out of recycled paper, and then at that point we will be happy.
Love it. Hey,
Alexandra, are you one of the jury members for this year's challenge or this year's awards?
What do you mean for the World Sailing's 11th Hour Racing Sustainability Award? Yeah, I am. And I'm trying to put together a judging panel that are from all over the world. So it would be our first time having judges from all 6 regions, so that we can really bring in the whole community and get them all involved. I think going back to like what Luca was saying, we're seeing a lot of movement, and for example, the IMOCAs have implemented, I think, or are implementing potentially a rule change. The Ocean Race have a sustainable boat building forum where they're trying to get people together to really understand how to. And we are also running a project internally, looking more at life cycle assessment and kind of how we can apply that to the classes that we have. So we are definitely seeing a lot more movement, and we're always grateful to Luca for the work that SuMoth has done in kind of helping ignite that fire. I think amongst a lot of the builders, more people are asking questions than ever before, talking to our technical teams. So we're starting to see that shift of mindset, but it's also because like the cost of fuel is prohibitive. So like, and the cost of materials are prohibitive at the moment, and and shipping times. So actually now people are realizing that these are all the right decisions for them to be making if they want to be, long term, if they want to be sustainable as a boat builder. They have to make these choices now.
Love
it. Thank you, climate change. Bravo.
Well done, COVID. Thank you.
For those who haven't heard of SuMoth Challenge, so SuMoth, the SuMoth Challenge, you can go to the Falling Week website and there's a bit of information. It's very cool. So, unique and interesting vessels being created from sustainable materials. I've got some bad news for you, Luca. Whilst you were talking, I've come up with an idea, and I do occasionally come up with an idea, and I think I'll discuss it at the very end of the show. But I suspect that it will win the sustainability awards from now on. It's a guaranteed win for Barcarati. So challenge is laid down, my friend. You're not saying a word, right? Okay. What I'll do, I'll ask a question before we give Jackie a bit of grief. For you, Luca, what was the most unexpected idea that you've seen come out of some of these designs?
Well, the interesting thing was that let's say on the technological side, the new materials that are now available in the market, like flax fibers, basalt, and so on, that was kind of obvious that they were going down those lines. But what was interesting was in the reuse and recycle that they managed to get parts of moths and foils and old, like they took some old 420 sails and they made the wings for the boats, and it was interesting to see how creative they became when they needed to find recycled materials and use them for the construction of the boats. Really, how when you are limited in resources, how you can then go and find something interesting out there.
Very cool.
Can I say something?
Of course, Jackie. We love you.
Jackie.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that we've sailed up and down the east coast of Africa, and there are a lot of dhows, little dhows, big dhows and little dhows in Tanzania and Kenya and places like that. And the one time there was, I think we were in Zanzibar or Mikandani, somewhere along the Tanzanian coast, and there was this guy that came past on a little wooden dhow with an outrider with sails up. And so we begged a ride because my husband and I sail Hobies as well, or we did when we were a bit younger. And, we were hanging out and they look at us like we're mad. Why are you hanging out? They've just got sandbags. They just move them from side to side. So if the boats are healing, then we just move the sandbag there. Nobody actually moves. You just move the sandbag. So they kind of look at us. Why are we moving? Well, I don't know. And the thing that I liked about it was that their sails were made out of old rice bags sewn together. Mm. And if the boat was overpowered, they'd just punch a hole through one of the sand.
This is one of the best ever.
It is.
I promise you, you would love it, Luca, because they just do it. This is their time-honored tradition. They sail in Tanzania and Kenya on these little boats, these dhows. They go out fishing at night. They have no lights. They take candles or whatever, and they just go out and it's amazing. And they're such fun. If for people like us that sail, they're really fun. But they don't have any electric drills or anything, so they use hand drills and wooden nails to keep them together. They make them out of wood, but they're mangrove wood. And then, as I said, the sails are made out of these bags, the rice bags that they sew together. Just like everything is sustainable.
Yeah,
I'll
we
find
hope
a photo.
Please, that would be great. And it would be great if there is like a South African university that wants to join the competition for next year. We would love to have them.
Yeah.
Oh, I see Jackie writing some notes right now.
Yeah, the organizer.
She's got a team. I think we have. Jackie's just come up with
DUT. We've got the Durban University of Technology students. But the problem is, I don't know if it is. I don't know how cost effective. I'll have to look at the design parameters, Luca, to see whether it would be feasible for them to do. But it's certainly something.
I will send you all the rules for the SuMoth competition.
I'm looking. Great. You might have to just open it up a little bit to allow for a falling down, Luca. Okay.
Well, I heard the story that there was a guy that wanted to do a falling down, and then they stopped because of liabilities, because you could imagine that the guy that wanted it was quite high in the hierarchy.
Yes. Okay. I think I know where you're going with this.
and so they stopped there. They say, no, we better not. But they thought about it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I reckon that story of Jackie's is one of the all times. Like I've just got this vision of Bicey doing the Hobart next year, and instead of shaking a reefie, he just goes there and gets his knife and cuts a little hole in the sail and says, "We good now? Keep going."
Well, don't laugh. I mean, there's lots of stories from the 79 Fastnet, as a matter of fact, that when people couldn't get the spinnaker down, they'd fire it down with a flare. Yeah. Not very sustainable, I must say, Alexandra. You didn't hear that from me, okay?
You could be seen from a distance. So.
That's right.
So, Jackie,
I think.
Go on, Alexandra. Keep going.
No, I was just going to say that, I think also what's really exciting that we're seeing in the community, like Jackie and Luca having this conversation now is that is that get more people collaborating as well, and sharing kind of what they do. And so this is super exciting because I'm really excited to see what Durban UT is going to come with now, because clearly they are going to, because Jackie, the organizer.
Of course, Jackie. She's an organizer.
I don't know. It's quite a tall order.
We are happy to help you get on the ground faster and give you all the help you need.
So Alexandra,
technical,
not
technical.
I'll have a look at it.
Alexandra, if you're a listener and we've mentioned the Sustainability Award. 11th Hour obviously is someone that we're close to, and they have done a huge amount. I mean, both Bicey and I have been involved in presenting at 11th Hour events to industry, where they actually try and change the way industry works. So they've been, you know, Susan Schmidt's team have been just the most fantastic people to our sport. So if somebody's out there listening and it has... Wendy Schmidt. Sorry,
Wendy.
Thank you.
Jordan's pretty good with names the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've been on fire, haven't I?
I'm there, I noticed.
I've been travelling. I'm not in my usual bubble. Sorry, Wendy, I apologise. Bicey and I have to apologise to Wendy occasionally. We misbehave too much. But anyway, the 11th Hour thing has been great, right? So if you're outside, if you're listening to this and there is something that you're working on, do you just nominate yourself, or should someone? What should people do to get nominated for this award? I'm interested.
Okay, you can enter yourself. Yeah. So yeah, it's on the World Sailing website. Basically, you can nominate a project, individual, you know, we've seen it, or you can enter yourself. You don't have to be nominated, and just tell us your story. It's pretty simple, and the way that we judge it is it's around, you know, what impact are you delivering. How do you kind of, so as an example, Jackie, you know, is now rolling out, you know, Sail Africa to a bunch of other parts of South Africa, and that shows you, you know, it's a very replicable project, the way in which they've done it. So yeah, it's you know, it's pretty simple. We want loads more entries this year. You know, we're gunning for it. And yeah, we just want people to get involved and tell us their great stories, because there are amazing things that are happening in the community. And I can tell you now, I'm confident I don't even know a quarter of them.
So, Alexandra, I'm guessing this is more nominations come on a yearly basis. So what numbers are we talking about? Is there like 5 nominations or 50 or 500?
No, we haven't gotten to 500 yet. But probably 50 plus nominations.
Oh, wow.
You know, we narrow it down every year. And so the numbers are growing year on year. And but we shortlist, and then our judges come up with the final 4. And those 4 finalists then go to public ballot as well. So then we have a judging panel, and some of that number goes up with the public ballot, and then we get our winner, you know, and if you win, you know, you get a nice $10,000 award. So that's not too shabby. It's a great thing to be a part of, as well as the fact that we obviously champion what you're doing, you know, which is why we have these 2 amazing people.
Hey, Jordan,
Yep.
I'm just trying to think how we could invest that $10,000 into beer and how we call that sustainable.
Well, no, it's funny you should say that. So one of the classes actually has a beer sponsor who makes their beer out of old bread. So it's a sustainable beer. So, you know, there are loads of ways you could do this. You can slice it up however you want, Nick, you know, just I really look forward to our karate.
We're ideas men.
Yes.
Hey, what I will say for the listeners, our good friend Luca has to leave us. He's got a bit of business he needs to attend to. So, Luca, thanks for joining, mate. It's been
thanks, Nick.
Loved having you on the show again. Yeah.
Thanks, Karate, and congratulations again, Jackie, for winning. Last year was a fantastic effort.
I'm overawed when I hear what you're doing, because we seem to bumble along. We somehow just with our little project, and we still kind of can't believe we come from a backwater. How on earth did we get here?
Oh, wonderful.
Congratulations. It was fantastic.
Cheers, Luca. We'll chat soon, mate. Bye.
Luca.
We should.
So, Jackie, whilst we're just off the back of that, can I ask you, the money that you did win, how's that been reinvested into your program?
What we've done with the money is we've used it for two things. Firstly, we used it to train up our assistant instructors. We have we have a program, as I mentioned to you, that is drawn from previously disadvantaged or disadvantaged children from townships. That the townships literally sprawl quite far out of the city centre, and the harbour is right in the city centre. So we first of all we have to transport those kids to us, and then we have to train them and so on. So we have a number of different types of programs. We have kids that just come in maybe for 2 or 3 days, and those programs are educational programs. So they do a level 1 learn to sail plus whatever educational program we think is applicable to that particular group. Most of the groups that we host are doing maritime studies at school. So we focused on that for a number of reasons. First of all, because we operate in the harbour, so they get a taste of what the harbour is like, because many of these children are children who think they want to go to sea, but they've never actually seen the sea. They've never actually been on a boat. So they have this idea that they're going to stand in a white suit and they're going to drive the boat. They've got no idea. And then when they come and they get wet, they say, "Highball." That's a word for, oh my gosh, in Zulu. They didn't think they had to get, and you say, "Pull that rope," and they look at you as if you're mad. Like, why would I do that? So putting them on a boat gives them a taste of reality, and they either love it or they don't like it. But most of them love it. So they keep wanting to come back. We have an extramural sailing program for a whole load of young kids that come from school, and they come once a week for the whole year. So that particular school would come every Tuesday and do sailing as an extramural. But we have a whole host of youngsters that don't go away. I call them my popcorn kids because they pop out of the mass and they won't go away. So these popcorn kids just hang around and they stay and they become instructors or assistant instructors, and then we have a program that takes them, so they move from school into university. Most of them go to the Durban University of Technology. There are actually 3 universities in Durban, but most of the kids that we have gone to DET, and then they keep coming back to us, and we train them up to be, in fact, fully fledged instructors. So what we've done is we used that money to train these instructors, and we've had a series of in-house programs. One that was fascinating was we ran a program on culture, because in our group, we have a Nigerian, we have a Swazi, we have a whole pile of Zulus, obviously. We have a Xhosa, we have 2 old white women, English speaking. We don't have any Afrikaans white people. We have 2 colored Afrikaans girls. So it's a completely diverse. I mean, but that's our culture, that's our country. But it was so fascinating to listen to them when they spoke about culture and what they thought culture was. And then we spoke about subcultures and how culture influences behavior and how subcultures influence your behavior. And the idea was to try and get them to the subculture of Sail Africa, and can we define the behaviors that we can all agree on here. So we had to kind of try, but at the end of it, it was fascinating. I mean, the one kid said, "Why do white people smell their food?" And so I said, "Well, and if my husband says, 'Oh, this smells nice,' I feel quite good when I'm cooking." She said, "In our culture, that's so rude."
Wow.
So just a simple little thing like that.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
just amazing, So, I mean, I know it's not related to sailing, but it makes our community, our little community, so much stronger to know that. And then the other thing they said, you're talking about, Alexandra, going into pubs and you're different in clubs, clubs in different parts of the world. Well, in the culture of the Zulu, when you go and have a drink, you take some of your drink and you pour it onto the floor for your ancestors before you have your first sip. So you can imagine how well this goes down in a colonial club.
Guilty I've been known to pour a little on the floor, but thanks now I'll be able to refer to my Zulu heritage. So, hey, Jackie, so a similar question to Alexandra. Like, how many kids are we talking here? 550, 500? Where do things stand?
About 350 altogether. But our assistant instructors, that's what we see in a year, about that, I would say.
Amazing.
And then, but some of them, as I said, don't just come and go. They come for a learn to sail program and then they go away again. And we may or may not see them. If sometimes, as I said, they pop up, they kind of come back because they liked it and they kind of come back, and then we kind of put them into some sort of other program. A lot of them come back again if they go to DUT. If they go to DUT, because we run a program in DUT, they come back and said, oh, we came 2 years ago and we did this, and we can see, okay, you've come. So that a lot of them, of our assistant instructors and so on, have come back. So we have a group of us, instructors and assistant instructors, of about 15. So they make up the basis also of our train to win and our train to compete program. So they race with the Durban fleet. At the moment, there's the 75th birthday of South African sailing coming up, and there's an away regatta over December, which is our summer, like you in Australia, and we're training for that. So we're hoping to put a girls team in it and a mixed team. So we have a very strong girls component. In fact, most of our sailors, we have, I'd say, about 60 to 66% of our sailors are girls.
Wow.
And they've had their own train to compete and their own train to win team. They didn't do very well in our last regatta, but I think, I don't quite know. You know, these things come and go. They do well, they don't do well. That's how it is. But they were the only all-girls team out there. They have fun. I think that at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. They're having fun. And when it stops being fun, then you don't want to do it.
Correct.
So it's got to be fun. Yeah.
That's certainly one of the mantras. Well, not our mantra, actually. It's actually what the common denominator to every, be it successful sailor or just an average club sailor, why they keep at the sport is because it's fun. So, and when the minute it's gone, that doesn't happen. So, Alexandra, I've got one. How long are the nominations open for the Sustainability Award?
Sure. So they're open until September 2nd, and then we'll be announcing the finalists at the end of September.
Yeah.
So,
all right, Jordan,
hurry up and get there.
I know you're an ideas man. I think it's time to pitch the idea to us all.
So I'm inspired, Jackie. I really am. I think that the work that you're doing is wonderful, and the fact that that mixture of cultures that you were talking about, you know, like one of the great joys of traveling for sailing is, apart from mixing up everyone's names, is that you get to get all these great stories and share these really interesting things. And we all love going away to championships. So you've created that in one little location. So the idea, I think Luca's idea of the SuMoth is a genius, you know, like let's use sustainable products and create these remarkable boats. So he's aiming for cutting edge. My idea that I've just had, and I'm thinking about you, and go on, boss. With what I'm thinking about is with Jackie and with the trying to make it sustainable and make it available to everyone. We need to open the sport to everyone, right? So we should have a design competition for who can come up with the coolest boat that one person can build, right? So rather than have teams of universities and all that sort of stuff, what is a really cool modern boat? Because this is sort of how the Mirror was built and how a lot of classes have come in. What is something you could build out of sustainable materials? So yes, it could be the rice bags, you know, it could be something like that, but maybe Barkarati hosts, we'll have to work this out, Barkarati hosts the competition where our listeners can come up with an idea, and we'll have to formally work it out, and then you come up with a boat that can be built for someone that has very little money. We bring people into the sport, and it's built from a sustainability perspective. So we need to flesh it out, but that's the idea that's popped into my head.
Now, Alexandra, I'm not sure how many episodes you've listened to, but you're going to see one design coming from one Jordan Spencer, which goes a little bit like this. Grab a piece of A4 piece of paper, squeeze it at the ends, and that's your hull. So I imagine that you can scale that up into a piece of plywood or whatever it may be.
You knew exactly where I was going. It's just
I think you are going to have to. That's called a canoe, Jordan.
Oh, yes.
But the goal is...
We've been searching for that for 3 years. Jordan's canoe.
Oh, I love it. Well, there you go.
I love the idea, though.
Yeah.
I think this could be cool. So I'm really looking forward. You guys launch it this year.
Some parameters.
Get it all together.
Yep.
Get some really cool parameters together, and then I expect an entry next year for the World Sailing 11th Hour Racing Award, because you'll have brought so many more people into the sport.
Oh, I love it. Great idea. Great idea. So on that note, ladies, Alexandra and Jackie, and one Jordan Spencer, I think we're pretty close to wrapping it up. But it's such a fantastic thing that you guys are doing within World Sailing and 11th Hour to actually promote this. And Jackie, congratulations on your recent win, and best of luck for the future.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah. No, thanks for having us, guys, and everybody out there. Please just reach out to me and anybody at World Sailing if there's anything that we can do to help out, or if you have any great ideas of how you think we can change stuff in the sustainability space, then we do want to hear from you. So please just reach out. I know everybody thinks that. I know you guys were scared about us giving you a ring, but the doors are open.
All took it in our stride. As it turned out, Scott and I were both walking our dogs at the exact same time when we spoke to each other. So, we were doing our piece also. So what's the best way, actually, Alexandra, to get in contact?
You can just email sustainability@worldsailing.org. sustainability@sailing.org. Apologize. New on the job, but otherwise just send to the general
contact
general info. Yeah, and that they'll forward it on to me.
Beauty.
Sorry, can I button?
Yes.
Just one of the things that hit home, actually, when we had our little award ceremony here in Durban, was that they said that it was the first time that anyone had won or even won this award from a developing nation. Until now, it was only developed countries and countries that were even concerned about sustainability. I think the point is that for most developing nations, just surviving is important. So thinking about sustainability, if you aren't like in Tanzania or in Kenya, automatically the people living along the coast are sort of sustainable because that's the only materials that they actually have. But for those who are living in cities like we do, we live in a city, they don't think about sustainability. They're more busy worrying about survival. So that, I think, is why our project, it was more important for us to offer some kind of social sustainability than environmental sustainability. And when I looked at the awards, Alexandra, I wasn't really sure if we fitted in, because I looked at it and I thought, for me, I'm doing what's sustainable, but most people don't see that as sustainability. Yeah. And I think it was Elizabeth I emailed. I said, do you think we should enter? And she emailed me back and said, I absolutely think you should. So that's why we did. But so what I'm saying is to other people in developing nations, don't be put off by it, because what you're doing is sustainable. A lot of what you're doing is sustainable. You just have to look at it because, like, for example, the Tanzanians on their dhows, they're sailing, but they just have a sustainable boat. But there are groups there in Kenya, for example, they have a dhow race every year between the islands. That sort of thing is a sustainable project.
Yeah.
And I know one of the sail makers was making sails for dhows. Something, I can't remember what the background was, but it was something to do with the fact that so many of them were going out to sea at night and getting lost at sea. So they made some kind of sails that could be easily spotted. And they were giving them out to these dhow sailors. So, those are projects that maybe people wouldn't think of entering, but it is just...
Yeah, they're completely sustainable. And I think the other really important thing is the fact that this just shows you, Nick and Jordan, that, that's we've been categorized very much in, I guess over time, as you say, as like a wealthy male kind of sport. But actually, the fact is that all of these communities are coastal communities who traditionally have been a part of the sailing community. This is where it all started. And so I think it's super exciting that, that we're able to bring, any opportunity for us to be able to bring those communities to the forefront. So, yeah, just to echo what Jackie's saying is that please enter if you're listening to this, and you don't think your project is suitable, then just reach out and ask the question, because, most of the projects that have come across our desk are completely submissible. It's, you just have to align to our agenda, which frankly is very all-encompassing.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, ladies.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing the progress.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Well, that was interesting, boss. Obviously, given I'm a long way from a Wi-Fi router and there's a bit of delay, you stepped into the breach there, mate, and led the show, which was awesome. But a lot of interest there, mate. Like world sailing, sustainability. Luca does some cool stuff.
Inclusion.
Alexandra she's cool. I really enjoyed meeting her, and I was just into Jackie and that whole South Africa thing, it was interesting. I think we really could do a lot more with those guys. We could have a lot more conversations.
Well, as we mentioned, Luca's he's like our glory boy for bar karate, so he's always welcome back. But Alexandra and Jackie, both in their own right, deserve an episode to themselves. I love Jackie's story, like you say, and what they've done there, and the whole inclusion program, and how many people are going through that school or that setup is quite astonishing. But the whole sustainability thing, look, that word in itself, it's not going away. We all kind of do a pretty good job, I think, from an environmental point of view, but probably not good enough. So we've got to keep working on that. And it's incentives like this that help make stuff happen. And in 10 years' time, we're going to be stuff that's going to come out of what's being developed now. We're like, hasn't that already exist? Why didn't that already exist? Type thing. So, something that everyone can do better on. But no, pretty cool to bring all those three together.
Yep.
Specifically around the 11th hour prize coming up, 10K. So everyone get your entries in. Get your entry.
Yeah.
We probably don't have time for your entry, your idea this year, Jordan, but next year for sure.
We're going to touch on it, and we probably we'll come back to that, because we'll get the listeners to contribute some ideas, and we can actually, I think there was some interest there. We could actually come up with something that could change the world. So let's do that. The one thing I was going to say, Bice, is whether you like this stuff or not, if I think back to the way I did things versus in the past as how I do now, things are different, and so we've changed our ways, and this stuff works. So just embrace it, and just let's make the world better for our kids. Cool.
Concur.
Righto, let's get into the other news. Club events. Any club events? What are we talking? Well,
mate, you're like in the heart of the club events.
I think so
at the moment.
Yeah.
We've got the round Britain Island race.
Yes.
And of course, you're in crossover for the 505 Worlds.
Yeah.
So basically, you are the centerpiece. They actually have created this specific week based around you, Jordan?
Not about me, mate. But yeah, so obviously round Britain and Ireland about to get underway. 5-0 Worlds just finished their pre-Worlds. So lay day Sunday and then into the Worlds. Looking fairly light, mate.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very light, I would suggest. Interesting, we've got two standout boats. If the wind continues as it is, and it looks like it will continue that way, we had two boats sort of dominate. One, Nathan Batchelor and Sam Pascoe, massive fans of Baccarati. They won the pre-worlds, literally just been decided. And then Caleb Payne and Stuart McNay, both US Olympic sailors, won Stewie in the 470 and Caleb in the Finn, close second. And those two were looked really strong, really good. And if conditions, to the extent that they were slightly gapping away from the field just a little bit, and their point scores were quite close, then there was a bit of a gap. So if the conditions hold, form holds, it's going to be between one of those two boats. But there's world champions everywhere. There's Olympic champions everywhere.
What were the conditions? What were the conditions for the pre-worlds? Was it windy?
Not at all.
Compared to the worlds being light?
Not at all. So the pre-worlds were light. So offshores yesterday or Friday, and offshores looked like it was going to be 12 to 15, then very quickly down to sort of 5, 6, 8. And then today, complete 180, but still 5, 6, 7, 8 knots and shifty, really shifty, challenging course. Yep. So, and the forecast.
Tell me, the 5-0s, are they a superstitious mob? Like superstition says you shouldn't win the invitation race.
Yep.
Does superstition say you shouldn't win the pre-worlds?
100%.
Or is it just
100%. Yeah. So
I'm keen. We should get some stats on that, actually.
Yeah. Well,
pre-worlds and winners. That'll be interesting.
Yeah. Well, I will say Howie Hamlin, one of the legends of the class and one of the all-time sailing legends, I guess, dinghy sailor legends, 2 18-foot skiff worlds, 14-foot skiff worlds. He's got ocean crossing records. He's never been concerned about winning the pre-worlds, and so he goes out and does it. And he's won the 5-0 worlds once and come second 8 times.
Rightio. There we go. Something to be read into.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
Who knows?
We'll see. But yeah, so that's where it all stands. So 5-0 worlds. I'm biased. I love the 5. I think it's the most beautiful boat on the water. And as we say, we've played that up quite a bit over the years on Baccarati. It is cool fun walking through the boat park. I'm getting a lot of this. I've heard your voice. Oh, what's your name? What's your name? And I'll go, for the people I haven't met, and they've just gone, oh, I love your podcast. I love your podcast. Like it's right across the park. So a little bit of indulgence there. Sorry, listeners, but it is kind of cool. It is definitely kind of cool.
You know what we should get?
What?
We should get some Baccarati t-shirts with an arrow. Like all three of us together and the arrow's pointing to the other one saying, that's the idiot.
I think we'd sell those. There'd be plenty of people who'd buy those. I love it. All right. Well, that's cool. So that's what's going on. Best of luck to all the competitors in both the 5-0s and the round Britain Island. If you are on the round Britain Island, as you come past Crosshaven, Cork, give us a wave. We'll be out there and have a safe journey. Tough event, obviously, going all the way around those islands. So, I think they go clockwise as well. So they'll go fairly early underneath island from memory.
Yeah, you'll be hanging for a bit of black pudding after that one.
It's definitely hit you, that one. Jack Lloyd, listener of the week. We got a good one here.
Had a couple come through, notably Oliver Scott Mackey, who has essentially wants to get the Cape 31 class up and running here in Oz. And they've currently got one based out of Middle Harbour. and another one on their way, I understand.
Yeah.
And there's quite a bit of activity in that area, not to mention, well, as we spoke about last week, they had 18 on the start line in cows for Cows Week. So there's no reason why it can't be as successful within on Australian waters at all.
Yeah. He's made an offer.
And we must mention he has reached out, extended an open invitation to us, or any of the listeners for that matter, to go for a test sale and see how good they are. Yeah. So for the listeners, anyone, just send us a quick note, cheers@barkarati.com, or get in contact with Ollie.
Cape31.com.au.
Correct. And or on Instagram, Facebook, Cape31 Australia. It blast. This is what yachting's all about too.
Yeah.
People just reaching out, offering their hand. So take on the challenge. If you're wondering what to do next weekend, give Ollie a call.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Now, we also had another one come through, Jordan, which from Yorkie, your mate, Andrew York.
Yep.
Yes, who basically reached out on behalf of a mate of his who has an issue getting the 2.4 metres into Australia for the Worlds.
Yep.
They're looking for a shipping solution.
Yep.
Reached out asking if we knew of anyone. He actually mentioned, while you're over there, Jordan, why don't you just have dinner with Mr. Andrew Pindar and just make this shit happen, right?
Yes.
Didn't quite happen like that. No. But we did put him in contact with our friends from Pindar, and hopefully there's a solution out around the corner. Now, in saying all that, Yorkie has suggested, why don't we create a new segment called, Fix It with Barkarati? Essentially,
does this mean we're fixing everyone's problems?
It's not as though we have a whole bunch of time on our hands.
No.
But if there's any, I don't mind what he's done here.
Yep.
If there's any sort of network contacts people need to make or something like that, or any shout outs or any hard questions out there, why don't we use Barkarati Network to put it out there?
No, it's not a bad idea. So what are we going to call it?
That might be simple answers.
Yeah.
What are we going to call it? Well, Yorkie suggested Fix It Barkarati. I think we could probably come up with something a little more creative.
Yeah, perhaps.
A bit more of a spin. But I like it. I'm going to so listeners, it's up to you guys. If you have anything, doesn't matter what it is, just send us a note. We'll put it to air, and I'm sure within the community, Barkarati community, it might be just a matter of linking two individuals up to find a solution. But I reckon that could create some good results.
You know what? What would look good on the side of a can? BK Fix.
The BK Fix.
You could put that on a can, just a little spray can, the BK Fix, a bit like the WD-40, like it could work. So maybe something like that.
I like it.
Yeah.
So, I'm open to that.
Sorry. I jumped. Yeah, no, we're into it.
Yeah, we're in.
It's hot time with Bice.
I just want to point out, Bice, before you start, that we're going to leave those mistakes in because it's just I haven't got time to edit, and we don't care. No, it's not that important for our listeners. That's right. So mistakes stay in. Right,
mate. No particular rhyme or reason about Hot Time with Bice this week, but there's a plethora of stuff going on in the industry.
Yep.
And I've missed a whole bunch of it. And it's easy to get quite into be Australian centric. So I've tried to stay away from that. But I'll give you a little update. While your head's been down, Jordan, Sail GP, of course, which was taken out by the Eastern Australians. Well done to those guys, guys and girls. Question actually is Jo Ali is she the magic formula?
Oh, I threw that at her. the Kiwis, the East Australians. So I will say this, that there was a definite vibe that no one wanted the Aussies to win, right? And
for sure.
Yeah, everyone was just going anyone but the Aussies, right? And then what did the Kiwis do? They did something cheeky, and I said, "You bastards, I'm going to get you." And so when I was introducing them on stage, everyone's sort of going, "Yeah, you know," thinking, "Here's coming New Zealand." I said, "And congratulations to the East Australians," and call them up on stage. And then I threw at Jo. I said to, because Jo's she's 470 gold medalist. She's a fairly talented young lass. First time on the boat, and they've had their breakthrough, right? And I threw that at her, and she just, the Kiwis don't give anything away in the interviews, they just don't.
Staunch as. And,
Pete, we get on super great with Pete. We get on super great with Blair. We get on with all the team. So we're saving them for a special episode, but, we're going to have to work hard. We need to get them on the grog, I think, Bicey, just to loosen up, because they're so interviewed. They've interviewed so much, they don't give anything away. And Jo's picked up on that. She didn't give anything away, but it's just Jo. It's all down. The other rumour it could be is that I know Andy Maloney was doing a lot of work on how much range he was moving the flying height. So the data that was coming out from the Australian team, was showing 0 to 1 degree of movement. Andy was doing sort of 2 to 3. So that was narrowed right down. They've definitely got it going faster. They've definitely got something worked out. It probably means that it's Australia or New Zealand at the moment from now on, because they are smoking. But yeah, they've definitely found something, whether it's Jo or something else. But
excellent.
The other thing I thought I would say to you, I don't know did I mention this last week's episode, the flyby that I got, the Top Gun moment?
Oh, yeah. Yep. When basically you're on the side of the boat and they just whiz past your ear about a metre away from the boat.
And then the other one, of course, Princess Kate was turning up to do the whole to the Commonwealth event, and security were going around saying no photos. And I said, no, she can't take any photos of me. I'm sick of being harassed.
Correct.
What else? It was a good event. Mate. So, Great Britain, GBR. We're used to calling it Great Britain. It only really occurred to me as I was wandering around. Just behind the tech site up there is a road called the Great Western Road. Now, what size do you imagine the Great Western Road to be?
Well, the name probably gives it away. It's got to be quite great. So it's at least a double laner both ways.
No, mate. No, she's a double bike laner max. and I'm just going, they'll call anything great here in Great Britain. So I just said, everyone's called the Great something. And so where I was going.
Yeah, Ben Ainsley the Great.
Yep. The Great
Kate
Jordan.
the Great.
Yep.
The Great Jordan Spencer.
That's it.
Yeah, no, there must be another meaning for it over there. Yeah. Maybe do some research while you're on site.
All right. Anyway, look, that event's a super event going well. Even though it was sort of boats up off foils, day and off foils, still super exciting. I was so excited for the Danish team. Nikolai came up on stage. We get on great with those guys. Lukey Payne's here at the 5-0s. My cousin, I've discovered. I'll tell you about that in a sec. But Nikolai, I introduced him up on stage, the world's fastest farmer, and all the VIP crowd are sort of going, the what? The world's fastest farmer, and we did the whole talk, and then I said, Nikolai, what are you doing? Is it are you back to the farm? And he said, yeah, it's harvest season, mate. I'm on the combine harvester tomorrow morning. And the whole crowd are like, what? He is a farmer? So it was cool. He's a great man and super happy for that team. That whole team is very happy, strong team.
Nikolai the Great.
Yeah. Cool.
So I've got a couple more things happening. Quick shout out, actually. This could have almost been in the club events. our mate Harry Fisher from Down Under Sale has done a documentary from the ground up around the Sharpie class. I've seen a few things on the cutting room floor, as they call it, or something like that. Looks good, and there's going to be some viewings pretty much starting from Wednesday this week. The first one down at Adelaide Sailing Club, and then a whole host of different states and different clubs around Australia over the next week or two. So check it out at Down Under Sale to find your local viewing. But it's about half an hour. Good doco, grassroots stuff. Pretty good.
Oh, look, I'll be looking forward to it. Just so for a heads up, boss, that remember we did that sort of promotion of the Cock of the North, the National 18 boats here, and we said, they sound like the Irish version of the Sharpie. They're quite the boat, there's a heap of them just here, so they are quite the boat. So it'd be good to have a sail on one. Might try and make it. But yeah, the Sharpies, for those non-Australians who don't know what the Sharpie is, it'll be a good story, really sociable class, great boat, fantastic in a blow. Nothing better than sailing with two of your mates, like three people on a boat seems to be the magic number, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a good number.
It is
absolutely.
A good number. Yeah.
And kind of in the similar space, and I'm pretty proud of this one.
Yeah.
The hashtag Bring Back the Rainbow.
Oh no,
mate! I tell you, there's been a page created about specifically for the rainbow.
Yeah.
And there's a whole host of activity going on the Facebook page.
I love it.
So if you have sailed a rainbow in Australia, check it out. Just search rainbow sailing in Facebook and you'll find it. It is a private group, but there's hundreds and hundreds of people now.
Is that right?
And and last activity 6 minutes ago. Last activity 12 minutes ago. There's a whole lot of activity going on. So check it out.
Because you're good at creating things, boss. You're good because you've got Oz Defenders up and going. So you've got that, which is a celebration of all the broken down cars around Australia. I've got to say, there's an awful lot of broken down Defenders on the side of the roads, broken down here in the UK and in Ireland.
Well, actually, not broken down. That parts stolen from them into containers to Morocco. Absolutely. But kind of in the same era.
Yep.
And a little segue here is sailing like it's 1968 is the Golden Globe race is about to go. 18 entrants, single-handed around the world.
Yep.
Basically celebrating the original Voyage for Madmen, as the book was known. Golden Globe race. Of which Sir Robin Knox Johnson won. He was the lone finisher. Wow. Back then. There were 4 finishers in this particular race 4 years ago.
Right.
And there's 18 on the start line. Similar to the Ocean Globe race, basically your boat has to be set up similar to the boats that were set up, minus plus the additional safety equipment from 1968. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. And that is an adventure in itself, for sure.
Cool. Very cool. Good luck to everyone. Nice. Sail safe.
All right, complete opposite end of the scale.
Yep.
11th hour. They're on their way, coming back across the Atlantic.
Yep.
They left Newport, been there for 2 months, got beaten up on their way to Bermuda, had a good time back in Newport. They're on their way again, pretty light the first day's out. And I just saw a photo of them the other day.
Yeah.
Zoomed in on the instrumentation.
Yeah.
They're doing 33 knots, just sitting in the cockpit.
Mate, there's some mockers coming out left, right, and centre at the moment.
Oh, mate, you see that photo I put up of Charal?
Yes,
mate,
yes.
Ridiculous. That was my actual line. This is getting ridiculous.
Yeah. It looks
mate,
like
so. Yeah, we've got Charal come out. We've got the other Samuel Manward boat for Sam Davies, as we mentioned last week.
Yeah.
We've got Boris's boat.
Yep.
We've got Charal one with Justine. I mean, it's just blowing. It's going to be awesome.
PRB or whatever it is. We got heaps. Can't wait.
We could almost, and not to mention, in the same light, we're seeing some class 40s come out as well.
Yeah.
And I think it was mentioned on one of our posts. It's like we're back in the IMS days.
Yeah.
These
Things are happening.
boats are just bending the rules as much as possible to create the fastest thing, whereas IMS was doing the opposite.
Yeah,
We're creating ugly boats to go slow. They're creating, you love them or hate them the way they look, but they're super quick boats.
Love them. Definitely love them. Yeah, very cool. It's good times, and of course, got a big event coming up this year. I can't even remember what we've got coming, to be honest, but I'm sure you remember. For the in which realms, the 60s or 40s? The 60s, I think. What have we got?
Well, we got the route. We got the route to run.
Yeah. I knew there was something that just skipped my mind. So after I called Wendy Schmidt, Susan Schmidt, I've made every mistake this week. So.
And get this one. We finally have a winner of the 2019 Clipper Round the World race. Postponed due to the pandemic.
Yes.
The boats were holed up, Philippines or somewhere
like that. Yeah. I forgot all about that.
Basically, they have now finished. So 8 legs, 40,000 miles. The race finally come to an end. Quint Chindao, skippered by Chris Brooks, took the top step after crossing the finish line in the London's Royal Docks. So they won 5 of the 8. Not sure how the team dynamic worked with that little pause in between with the pandemic, but yeah, finally all done.
Yeah,
so cool. That program, I guess, will be kicking off again very soon with the next edition, which seems to be a pretty good formula.
Okay, very cool. There's a lot of events going on. Obviously, we had the Sydney to Gold Coast. We got Cows Week. We got Copa del Rey, 29er Worlds, the Top of Worlds. I guess we just don't have time to talk about them, but there's plenty happening. And you guys probably all over Cows Week, and most of that to the 29.
But what we will say for all the info, yes, Cows Week. Check out Sail Planet with our friends.
Yep.
There's a lot of info in regards to the results. Flotilla as well. Check them out.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of results in there. So, And then finally, what I've got this week, the protocol to the Cup has been updated.
Yep.
I must admit, I fell asleep halfway through reading it, so don't really bother. But they've also mentioned where their team bases in Barcelona are going to be based.
Yep.
So, you wouldn't have guessed, but Team New Zealand front and centre.
Yeah. Means all the property deals are done.
Yeah, staunch off. There'll be a staunch off for
sure. That's cool. Very cool, mate. The only other thing I wanted to just bring up is we discussed it in the show, that little idea, the Barkarati Build Challenge.
Yes. Oh, yeah, of course.
We should. So what I'm thinking, right, so in my mind, the way I'm seeing it is that we could come up with a design idea where one person just build a boat and it's cool, simple to sail. And I'm thinking we should do different sizes because sailing is about sizes, a big, medium, small, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't cost much. So whether that means recycling gear or using timber or using foam, my heart lies in using foam over ply. But how we do it, what we can write the rules, I wouldn't mind. Like we need to nut it out. But what I'm sort of thinking is maybe the listeners can throw ideas at us. Like, and if we can, then we could take that to World Sailing. So if we could get people into the sport without having to spend a lot of money, that's the pathway, and give them the opportunity. So,
well, that is keeping in mind that is part of the sustainability side.
Yeah.
When we say that word, we all think environmental, but it's all to do with inclusion and economical as well. So if we can get people in for cheaper. So what you're saying here, Jordan,
mate, is
we create the Barkarati Build Challenge as part of the World Sailing 11th Hour Sustainability Challenge.
Yep.
Geez, that's going to be an acronym.
Yeah.
The BKC of.
But But there's smart people out there, you know, like we're sort of focused in one zone, and there must be people out there that think about things differently to us. And we're just saying to you, cheers@barker80.com, send it to us. We will try, if there's something good comes out of this, we'll take it to World Sailing. And we'll actually get it into that program, because I can say Alexandra, she seemed really interested. And if we can get more people into sailing and doing the right thing, and we can make it accessible, then let's come up with ideas. Go wild, throw whatever you want at us. You happy with that? Just send it to cheers at
Absolutely. Nah, I love it. Like you say, there's people out there who are probably doing this already and they're thinking about it, but let's utilize our platform similar to BK Fix It. Let's utilize it. Let's leverage it to try and make something happen on a global level.
I think so. Sounds pretty cool. Cool. Now, I guess the last thing to mention, obviously, we haven't talked about BP. Right about now, they should have concluded their investigation into everything that's happened with the X2. I would expect our episode next week will be, we'll actually talk to BP specifically about it. And try and focus in on that. So we haven't been hiding it. We haven't been trying to avoid it. BP certainly hasn't been avoided. He's just been busy with trying to make things happen and get to the answer. The interesting thing is that the amount of support that's come in from Barker 80 listeners for BP has been phenomenal, and we're very grateful for that. He actually said he's had a lot of inquiries about the boat, so it hasn't scared people off. Most people know that the engineering's been done well. We just don't know what caused it. So it could be just an anomaly. It could be a fault, but it's, you know, he's been working really hard to sort of identify it.
Here. So looking forward to getting BP back on. I mean, it's getting a bit monotonous just taking the piss out of you. We've got to get him back so I can bloody really hit my stride.
Oh, you're a good man. I love it. Well, you know what we should do? We should just at least get him in to play a bit of music.
Yeah. Well, should we do that now?
Okay.
Matter of fact.
Let's see where he's at.
Let's go.
Come on, BP. Where are you up to, mate? All right.
He's loud.
Have a good week, everyone. Good to speak to you, boss. And,
You too, mate.
Right. See you, everyone.